Apologies. Very good evening. It's been a very, very busy day for me, and my computer's broken down, so I'm without one of my computers. So it's gonna be interesting. Let's get going.
Do not fear them. Do not fear any of them. On the 20th of November 2003, James Ignatius O'Rourke McMahon was elected councillor for the Failsworth East Ward of Oldham. Deeply ambitious, he ruthlessly rose to power, and by 2011, he was already leader of the council. In 2015, exploiting a Labour Party loophole, he became MP for Oldham West and Royton. If only the people of the town knew then what they now know. Do not fear them. Do not fear any of them.
Very good evening. It's Sunday, the 13th of November, Remembrance Sunday. Always, for me, it's always a very difficult time of the year. If I'm honest, I struggle with Remembrance Sunday, and maybe it's just me. I just see an increasing level of politicisation and political exploitment of Remembrance Sunday, and I struggle with it. I think this year more than anything, I saw people put poppies up and stuff like that on the Facebook pages, and I didn't do any of it on purpose. If I'm honest with you, I've generally struggled with it, and increasingly struggle with it as we see, conservative signs on top of it and Labour signs on top of it, and it's just been politicised. And I do wonder what the children of our various townships, because it wasn't a town at the time, that's why we have so many services across the townships of Oldham. I genuinely do wonder what those who lost their lives, who sacrificed their lives, would think of what our town, their communities, their neighbours and their communities have now become, and the tyranny that rules over them. I genuinely wonder what they think. Anyway, that's me done on that, I'm afraid. Very, very good evening. This is episode 4 of our final 9 of the Recusant 9 transmissions. My name is Raj Emi. I've been doing this for over 4 years now. Greater Manchester Police, good evening. They will confirm with you. Greater Manchester Police will confirm with you that they have been monitoring me for the last 4 years or more. So, in particular to my friends at Greater Manchester Police, a very good evening. To those of you who belong to the Labour Party, the Conservatives and other political groups who watch me almost as religiously as people who find genuine value in my content, a very good evening as well. I know none of you comment. I also know the reasons why none of you comment, but you all take value and use my work, won't you, in one way or another. You all have to go and retreat, or some of you have got to go and retreat and come up with narratives to counter what I reveal. Now that you now can no longer have me arrested because you failed with that Operation Hexagon, haven't you? And then there are others in the opposition parties that take value from what I transmit, but will never post a hello and say who they are or anything like that. It's just another layer of the many reasons why these Sunday transmissions are coming to an end. And yes, Julie, I'm afraid people aren't going to do that. I think it's very clear by now. That's not going to happen. Take value in it, though, don't they? Take immense value in it and take my work and rehash my work and present it as theirs. Yeah. Never mind. Let's get on with some of my work. Royton Medical Centre. State of the art, remember. state of the art, remember. But hidden until we revealed it in an emergency transmission earlier this week. Hidden in the damning Care Quality Commission report findings of the role of Dr. ZAHID CHAUHAN. Now remember, as well as being a senior Labour Party politician in this town who until recently was on the cabinet in charge of health and well-being and considered to be an authority on this, not just in Oldham but across Greater Manchester. That's Dr. ZAHID CHAUHAN, stood to be an MP. And is now currently attempting to become an MP. For those of you who don't know, Pendle Way. He's trying to get the nomination for the Labour Party nomination, Pendle Way. So he's doing a lot of campaigning in Pendle at the moment, even though, you know, you guys are paying him with your council tax money. So the medical centre was built on land purchased by Dr. CHAUHAN through a less than transparent deal with Oldham Council. I revealed this over 2 years ago. The sale of Royton Youth Club. At the time, the discussions around the sale of Royton Youth Club was for it to be replaced with another youth facility, but that never came to be for the children of Royton. So there was no youth facility. It was Dr. CHAUHAN who bought it. And Oldham Council first had this process of bids, you know, sealed bids. It's not unusual. Sealed bids in by X date, and usually the highest bidder gets it, providing, you know, it's not for a strip club or something like that. You'd sell it to the highest bidder, and providing they can also demonstrate proof of funds, you know, but, you know, subject to terms and conditions, the highest bidder would get that. Yet for some reason, as confirmed by the council's own web page minutes, at the very last minute, in fact, at the meeting the decision was meant to be made, they abandoned it. They abandoned the process they'd agreed and decided to send it to auction. Now, I've never been able to uncover why that is. My suspicion is that the highest bid wasn't by Dr. ZAHID CHAUHAN, and he wanted the building. So they decided to scupper that and sent it to auction instead. And when they sent it to auction, Dr. C bought it. The building collapsed or something happened. Then it all made the newspapers. And millions of pounds of public sector, you know, public money was spent in creating this state-of-the-art medical centre. And the income stream, because it's like schools, very much like schools, the money you get in comes from the number of patients you have, the number of students you have. So they had something. The best part of 6,000 patients. And it opened last year, just over a year ago. Jim McMahon went to it, Jenny Harrison went to it, Shahid Mustak went to it, even Dave Arnott was there. Nothing wrong with being there. But they went to it, and Dr. C was front and centre with Jim McMahon, thumbs up sort of picture. You've all seen it. And then the Care Quality Commission inspection went in, and they found that the practice, whilst overall requiring improvement, it determined that its leadership, whether the medical centre was well led or not, it gave it a damning report. It decided it was inadequate. And the managing GP partner is the now Deputy Mayor of Oldham Council, Dr. ZAHID CHAUHAN. So you can see the scandal before the scandal. This is the Royton Youth Club. It's auctioned by Pew. And instead of selling to the highest bidder via sealed envelopes, and no one's explained it. No one at the council has ever explained why that decision was made. Now, I'm not saying Dr. CHAUHAN did anything untoward, but I don't think he had a direct involvement in that whatsoever. But all very dubious, all very dubious. So the brothers Tariq and ZAHID CHAUHAN are listed as the managing GP partners on the Care and Quality Commission webpage. Now I know since our transmission, what was it, on Wednesday, our emergency transmission on Wednesday or Tuesday, where we evidenced and disclosed all of this to do with Dr. Chauhan and how his name was hidden on the website. Well, the way you could access his name hidden on the website has now been removed. So his name cannot be accessed or linked on the website anymore. So, hello, Dr. C. Know you're watching, or your mates are watching, because that change would not have happened unless I had shared it with the public of this town. So there you go. Dr. Chauhan has attempted to, or someone associated with Royton Medical Centre has attempted to alter the website, and now Dr. Chauhan's name is no longer found on it. But as Arud Shah found out, it's not so easy to hide a paper trail. I'll get to that later. So the Care and Quality Commission inspected the medical centre on the 7th of September, 2 months ago. And they found not just that it was inadequate in terms of its leadership and governance, they identified multiple breaches, dangerous breaches, death traps, consequence of their actions, dangerous breaches, black and white breaches, not one but two serious breaches. The first breach was under Regulation 12, failure to provide safe care and treatment. Failure to provide safe care and treatment. Very good evening to all of you. I'm sorry I'm catching up. It's difficult for me today, like I'm explaining. My computer's broke down, so I'm on the desktop. I've not got a laptop. I normally need two computers and an iPad and a separate screen to do this transmission, but my laptop has stopped working. There's an obvious reason why he and the rest of the Pakistani politicians in Oldham, and the white politicians and the Bangladeshi politicians, to be fair, why the full cultural religious cross-section of politicians do not like me. It's because I have exposed their corruption and their criminality and their role in the cover-up of the grooming and gang rape of our town's children. That's why they don't like me, Oldham Eye. And another reason why they don't like me, Oldham Eye, that's with the greatest of respect to you, mate, is because I can look them in the eye. I don't hide. I'm not disguised. I'll face them, and I've faced them and continue to stand in front of them and defy their tyranny for the last 4 years and more. That's why they don't like me. I'm not hiding. And what I demonstrate and the way I demonstrate it, well, we've seen, haven't we? We've seen the consequences. The practice did not have clear systems, practices and processes to keep people safe and safeguard them from abuse. That's a direct quote. These are all direct quotes from the Care Quality Commission. Dr. Chauhan's practice did not have clear systems, practices and processes to keep people safe and safeguard them from abuse. The practice did not have adequate systems for the appropriate and safe use of medicines, including medicines optimization. Or the S shouldn't be there, I think it should say including medicine optimization. That's right. It did not have the systems for the appropriate and safe use of medicines. Deathtrap. It can't safeguard you from abuse, and it doesn't have the systems for the appropriate and safe use of medicine. The practice did not have a system to learn and make improvements when things went wrong. Leaders could not demonstrate, so we're moving up to Regulation 17 now, failure to provide good governance. Leaders could not demonstrate that they had the capacity and skills to deliver high quality, sustainable care. Leaders could not demonstrate that they had the capacity and skills. Do you understand the gravity of that statement? There was no faith in them. The gravity of that statement from the Care Quality Commission. Astonishing. Leaders could not demonstrate that they had the capacity and skills to deliver high quality, sustainable care. The overall governance arrangements were ineffective. And the practice did not have clear and effective processes for managing risks, issues, and performance. Deathtrap. The practice did not always act on appropriate and accurate information. The practice did not fully involve the public, staff, and external partners to sustain high quality and sustainable care. And despite those damning findings, the Oldham Times, this woman, Olivia Bridge, after I exposed her sham of a first article covering up Dr. Chauhan, within 24 hours, the Oldham Times produced a second article. In neither article does Olivia Bridge or the Oldham Times share details of Dr. ZAHID CHAUHAN's role at Royton Medical Centre. That on its own condemns the Bolton-based Oldham Times and Olivia Bridge. On its own, that condemns them, because that is a clear demonstration, yet again, of the Oldham Times' role in running press, PR, Goebbels-like, for the political paymasters at the Civic Centre. This is like something out of Nazi Germany. And I say this with intent on Remembrance Sunday. What is taking place here in the way Olivia Bridge and her colleagues at the Oldham Times are behaving, they are like Goebbels and his team from Nazi Germany. And then once exposed, is reporter Olivia Bridge then attempts to focus on the problem. I've just demonstrated to you all of the serious, severe issues there. And she tries to run a story about problems with booking appointments. She tries to belittle what's happened at Royton Medical Centre by focusing on issues that affect other medical centres, of how difficult it is to get appointments. So she tries to focus it on that, and that's done on purpose. Because what she's trying to do is cover up what is taking place. Cover up the serious headline breaches. Multiple. And she goes and interviews someone who says what a great doctor's service it is. But let me just go back. I just want to go back for this. The practice did not have clear systems, practices and processes to keep people safe and safeguard them from abuse. Do you know why? Two non-clinical staff members did not have DBS checks. Two of them, not one, so it's not accidental. Two of them did not have DBS checks. And it gets worse. It honestly gets worse for them. The registered manager, and I don't know who the registered manager is, told the Care Quality Commission that staff had a formal DBS checks when their probation was completed. Six months. So apparently you can go and hang out there for 6 months and do what you want without a DBS check. I've never heard of anything like that in my life. I've never heard of anything like that in my life. But it's okay. They made a self-declaration. The Care Quality Commission were having none of it. Yes, mate, I'm not a paedophile. No. I don't try and have sex with grannies. What's the self-declaration? Tell me. Tell me what the self-declaration is and how it can be accepted. The practice provided the Care Quality Commission with the DBS process. This was for an organisation called Beacon GP Care Limited. Remember that name, Beacon GB Care Limited. It comes back later. It's of relevance later. This stated that a DBS check would be completed following the 6 months probation period. Yeah, mate. Maybe daddy was on his probation for 18 bloody years. The practice did not have adequate systems for the appropriate and safe use of medicine. Shall I read a sentence to you? Patient Group Directions, PGDs they're known as, assigned to allow healthcare professionals to administer specified medicines to patients. So you can give medicines, yeah? The practice provided us with the PGDs they held. Several PGDs included authorization for a GP and the senior team leader to administer medicines. Okay, with me so far? GPs do not work under PGDs. The registered manager confirmed that the senior team leader did not administer any medicines when was included in the PGD in error. Oh, it was a mistake. It was a mistake. Someone who wasn't meant to be given medicines is listed as giving medicines. It was a mistake. We didn't mean it. The practice had two practice nurses. And the registered manager confirmed that both administered medicines. So both practice nurses were administering medicine. Of the PGDs we examined, neither practice nurse was named. Okay? So the nurses aren't named in the... Yeah, you get it. So they look at the paper, the PGDs they look at, and they can't find the names of either of the nurses. So the registered manager then says they have electronic copies They printed off one of the electronic copies, but we found the electronic copy and the paper copy was the same PGD, was not identical. Okay? Same PGD. Here's a paper copy. Print me off that electronic copy, please. The electronic copy and the paper copy, the same one, had been signed by different people with different names on it. Do you know what that suggests? Do you know what that suggests? That suggests, well, fraud's the wrong word, but that suggests backfilling the paperwork before the regulator arrives, before the inspector arrives, to try and get your house in order. Or we'll print this out, or we'll have copies of this, but it doesn't match what's online. Yes, exactly. One they made earlier. That's what's been suggested here. So they go and find something, a PGD with one with each of the practice nurses on it. Remember, they've got 2 practice nurses, and so far they've not been able to find the practice nurses' names on anything. And these are the 2 nurses who are meant to administer the medicine. So the registered manager then provides them with 2 separate PGDs, one with each of the practice nurses' names on. One of these was stated to be from a different practice, so not even from Royton Medical Centre. None of the PGDs we examined had the name of the organisation annotated. The section of the form stating insert name of organisation had been left blank. Insert name of organisation had been left blank. Following the inspection, so after the inspection, the senior partner, now I cannot presume this is either Dr. Chauhan or his brother, and I think it's for Dr. Chauhan to clarify what his role was in this inspection. Following the inspection, the senior partner sent us PGDs where the second practice nurse was named. You'll have to decide whether the ink was still wet on that document. But these were from a different GP practice. These were from a different GP practice. Of the 27 PGDs Dr. Chauhan's surgery provided, the nurse was only correctly authorised in 12 of the documents. Of the 27 documents, the nurse was only correctly authorised on 12. The majority of the documents were wrong. On 15 occasions, okay, on 15 occasions, that's the remaining 15 occasions, the nurse had been added to and signed the PGD after the authorising officer. This meant they were not correctly authorised, nor further documentation was supplied for the first practice nurse. So the first practice nurse, forget it, nothing, doesn't exist, made up. Second practice nurse, the person authorising it had signed the document prior to the nurse's name being inserted. That's not me saying it. That is the Care Quality Commission. That is the Care Quality Commission. That's exactly what it suggests, Lynn. That's exactly what it suggests. And you missed a point, Teresa. The point being, that this isn't just a dodgy doctor's surgery where the leadership has been determined to be inadequate and the Care Quality Commissioner, Inspector, is questioning the honesty and integrity, or lack of. It's that this surgery, the managing partner, whatever the technical term is, he's tried to hide it, but it is Dr. ZAHID CHAUHAN, Deputy Mayor of Oldham Council, prospective parliamentary candidate for Pendle if he gets his way, and senior Labour Party politician, not just in Oldham, but across Greater Manchester. Forget the suspensions, mate. They're not even speaking out. They're not even speaking out. The 5 medicine reviews. The 5 medicine reviews the inspector examined found that these reviews had been completed without patient involvement. And they found issues with 3 of the 5, where although a review had been coded, all the repeat medicines had not been reviewed. So they claimed that they'd done a review, but they hadn't. And some ongoing monitoring processes had not been checked. They had issues with stock levels and monitoring stock levels, which suggests that they didn't know what the stock was. So anyone could be leaving with, dangerous drugs. The registered manager and senior partner told the inspector that in order to make the clinical rooms flexible and be able to use by any GP, they had hot boxes. Hot boxes contained the medical equipment a GP would need for the surgery. So all the important stuff is in the hot boxes. The inspector checked 2 of the hot boxes. Did it have the vital, essential equipment in? No. No. The practice did not have a system to learn and make improvements when things went wrong. That's why I call it a death trap. There's these 2 headings, a significant event and a learning event. And apparently, the partners decide if an incident was a significant event or a learning event. The partners decide. But they've got a significant event policy, which apparently had been reviewed in July 2021 when the surgery opened. This stated that significant events should be reported to the practice manager and a form would be submitted. There was no policy for learning events though. So they asked members of the clinical team, what's the difference between a significant event and a learning event? They were told that the learning event sounds better than a significant event. A learning event sounds better than a significant event. And of course, there's a full list of failings. Forget whether it's significant or a learning event. Things were not recorded at all or not recorded properly. And following the inspection, after they'd thought about it, the senior partner got in touch and told the inspector that learning events came out of complaints. The learning event was the investigation. This was not evident in the documentation we saw or the discussions we had. So what the inspector is saying there is that the senior partner made it up or tried to mislead them. That's what the Care Quality Commission inspector is saying. Three of the 4 learning events they examined were from complaints, but these were not recorded in the complaints log. No evidence of discussions when there were meant to have been discussions on this portal that they're meant to use. Learning or significant events were not on the agenda for clinical meetings. So if they were being discussed, they would have been on the agenda, but they weren't on the agenda. Do you see how thorough the quality care is? You can't lie, can you? You know, because it's a thread and the thread runs through. That's how inspections work. The non-clinical meeting minutes for July 2022 stated all learning events would be recorded on Clarity TeamNet so there could be learning from the situation. The 3 learning events recorded in the previous months were not mentioned. Under the agenda item for learning events, it was stated that GPs were issuing the incorrect number to patients when they were referring for an X-ray. They needed to find the correct number and change the message. This had not been recorded as a significant event or learning event. Learning or significant events were not on the agenda for the clinical meetings in May or June 2022. Unbelievable. System to manage safety alerts was not fully effective. Wow. Complaints weren't used to improve the quality of care. It was difficult to accurately state how many complaints had been made since the practice registered in November 2021 due to the way complaints were recorded. The practice supplied us with their complaints policy. This was from Beacon GP Care. The registered manager explained that Beacon GP Care was an umbrella company that managed, for example, human resources, medicine management and governance. So Beacon GP Care gets a slice of the profits. So it charges for its services. It won't do this for free. Remember that, Beacon GP Care. It's an organisation called Beacon GP Care that does this. The senior partner told us that any investigation and learning from complaints was documented on learning events and not in the complaints file. We examined the learning events completed by the practice. None of these correlated with the complaints we saw had been received by the practice since it was registered. The complaints policy did not mention learning events. Once again, the inspector is essentially wording this in a way where you can go to no other place other than that the senior partner is making things up. He's attempting to mislead, deceive the inspector. It's okay though. Information about how to complain was available on the website, and there was also a leaflet. There's a leaflet. If you want to complain, here's your leaflet with a phone number. The problem is, it was the wrong phone number. So you can imagine what's happened with complaints. If you manage to get through to a complaint, you can imagine. Remember, people, all of this has been hidden from you. All of this. Amanda CHADDERTON, Royton South councillor, is yet to condemn the management, the governance, the alarm, the death trap that is Royton Medical Centre. Jim McMahon, the Royton MP, is currently walking up and down the streets of Hollingwood trying to get a former Royton councillor, Hannah Roberts, elected into Hollingwood. Hannah Roberts, under whose watch these failings also took place, has got nothing to say. Damning. Ready? Leaders demonstrated. No. Leaders failed to demonstrate that they understood the challenges to quality and sustainability. Leaders failed to identify the actions necessary to address these challenges. The senior leaders, that is the registered manager and the senior partner, told the inspectors that about the challenges they had faced, but they had not identified the issues found during the inspection. So they're talking about challenges that weren't even found during the inspection. Staff were not routinely involved in the development of the vision of the strategy. The practice culture did not always support high quality sustainable care. The overall governance arrangements were ineffective. DBS checks you know about. The practice's infection prevention and control policy. Important. Infection prevention and control policy made reference to an incorrect clinical commissioning group from a different area. Emergency medicine checks had not highlighted why an emergency medicine was not available. Emergency medicine checks had not highlighted why an emergency medicine was not available. Relevant clinicians were not authorized to administer medicines, but they did, due to the practice not having an understanding of patient group directions, PGDs. Hot boxes were not checked and did not contain the required equipment. The significant event policy was not being followed, and the staff did not know the difference between a significant event and a learning event. Patient safety alerts were not always acted on. The system for managing complaints was not effective. 8 of the 9 staff told them they were employed by Beacon GP Care, not Royton Medical Centre. It is Royton Medical Centre that is registered with the CQC, not Beacon GP Care. So the people who work there don't even know who they're working for, or are working for the wrong employer. 8 of the 9. And the ninth one told the inspector that they worked for someone who is no longer involved with the practice. What is going on here, people? What is going on? Well, you know what the cover-up's going on. And here is Jim McMahon, Royton MP Jim McMahon. He remains tight-lipped and refuses to condemn the Deathtrap surgery run by his close friend, Dr. ZAHID CHAUHAN, and they are close friends. I'm told that when Jim McMahon was recently rushed to hospital, Dr. CHAUHAN was in attendance alongside his friend. What does it go like, Jim? Oh, Jim, I no liking when that Raja Mia says some horrible things about you, Jim. I no liking. Well, Raja Mia is now saying some damning things about Royton Medical Centre, and Jim McMahon, in his capacity as MP, is betraying the people of Royton by refusing to condemn this Deathtrap surgery. You decide why that is. We move on to Amanda CHADDERTON, leader of Oldham Council and Royton South councillor. In the updated Oldham Times article, it appears she knew about these concerns prior to the inspection report. Did she tell you? Did she tell anyone in Royton? And she also refuses to condemn. This is a medical centre. This is a medical centre that the Care Quality Commission clearly stated the practice did not have clear systems, practices and processes to keep people safe and safeguard them from abuse. That is what they said. This practice did not have clear systems, practices and processes to keep people safe and safeguard them from abuse. Yet here we have the samosa nibbler and his meat pie sidekick refusing to speak out, and I can go to no other place than the power that Dr. ZAHID CHAUHAN wields in this town. So much power that Olivia Bridge and her mates at the Oldham Times also refused to make reference to him. No, I bet you she didn't take her child there, mate. I'm with you on that. And here we have Barrelgate Bashforth, Marie Bashforth and Clint Piffian all silent, but the one I want to focus on is Marie Bashforth. Medical professional with specific responsibility on Oldham Council around health and well-being. Specific responsibility. So the Royton South councillor, Marie Bashforth, has got specific responsibility around health, well-being, safeguarding the medical sector, and she refuses to say a word. What does it need, Marie? Does it need some elderly person in Royton to die before you find your voice? Barrelgate's usually got a big voice. Where are you, Steve Bashforth? If you're gone and got yourself another barrel of beer and this time drunk it and now wasted and too drunk to say something. As for Clint Piffian, his son works for Jim McMahon. What was it, Clint? A waste of money investigating the cover-up of the grooming and gang rape of Royton children. A waste of money? Well, how much money do you need, Clint, to say this report is unacceptable? If you're finding value in this transmission, please like, please share. If you're one of the... Can't tell. Let me bring it up. If you're one of the 219 viewing, perhaps consider, particularly if you're not one of the subscribers on the 75 pence a week, please consider buying me a coffee. That presentation and the content... 8 hours this morning. I'll be back with a drink. Thank you, Lynn. Thank you for buying me 5 samosas. I'm very grateful, particularly as you already subscribe to the transmission. For those of you who are joining me late. My name is Raja Mia. I have been running the Recusant 9 transmissions now in this sort of format for at least 2 years, and the work has gone on for 4 years and more. If you find these transmissions of value, please do consider supporting my work. Apparently, I'm known as the I'm well known apparently as the malicious beggar. Well, if you find me raising concerns about the well-being of our children and the well-being of our vulnerable and elderly as malicious, then I think it's a reflection on you rather than on myself. We tried to get the subscription numbers up, but they've not gone up. So this is 4 of what looks like, and I don't think we'll get anywhere near where we need to be. It looks like 4 of the last 9. I'll just chat to you whilst I'm working out some other things I want to show you. It is what it is. We've had a good run and we've changed the face of this town. My own, I think you'll find out on Thursday yourselves with the election results in Hollywood, where I've intentionally stayed away from. I think you'll find out for yourself what is likely to happen. But that's not on me. I simply cannot keep going this way indefinitely. Dr. ZAHID CHAUHAN, if you now go on the medical centre's webpage and click on the About People, you can't find him. It's just Dr. T. CHAUHAN. So that's been changed. That's been changed in an attempt to remove him. But if you go on the Care Quality Commission's own webpage regarding the registration details, not so good, are we, Dr. C? Not so good. And you know what? By doing that, you'd made me go and look somewhere else. And you made me go and look somewhere else. And what I'm going to share with you now will have caused you more issues. It will have caused you more issues. I went to company's house and typed in Dr. Chauhan's name, and he comes up with a total number of 16 appointments. Greater Manchester Urgent Repair Alliance, CIC. Now, what is this thing called a CIC? That means they can make money from it. That means even though he's a director, he can make money from it. So the Greater Manchester Urgent Primary Care Allowance is one of his money-making ventures. Bardock Family Practices. Rock Healthcare Limited. Northern Roots. Casita Homes Limited. Looks like some sort of property development practice from what I can tell. Beacon Healthcare Property Limited. Beacon GP Care Limited. Beacon GP Care Limited. Oldham Hume Grammar Schools. AZ Medics. And he's resigned from Oldham Care and Support Limited. And he's resigned from MyoCare Services Limited in the same way Bashfus resigned from MyoCare when we exposed that little earner. But this is the one I want you to look at. Beacon GP Care Limited. And the reason I want you to look at that is because repeatedly, sorry, I'm just going back, in that Care Quality Commission report is reference to Beacon GP Care Limited as some sort of umbrella organisation that Royton Medical Centre subcontract services from. So essentially what you've got here, and I don't think I'm reading it wrong, I'm going off the Care Quality Commission's own report of an umbrella organisation, HR services, this, that, something else. So all of that seems to have it must be a contractual arrangement. So in addition to receiving an income directly through Royton Medical Centre, services are outsourced to Beacon GP Care Limited. The people at Beacon Tariq Chauhan, so that's Dr. T. Chauhan and Dr. ZAHID Chauhan. Yeah. So that is the two partners registered with Royton Medical, with the Care Quality Commission as the partners of Royton Medical Centre. I've seen ZAHID Chauhan, I presume it's one of their wives, occupation housewife, but she's resigned from it previously on 24th of May 2022, so recently. But the two brothers are there. The registered office address is Royton Medical Centre. Have a look. No. So it outsources services. Royton Medical Centre outsources services to this organisation called Beacon GP Care Limited. 8 of the 9 employees of Royton Medical Centre believe wrongly that they work for Beacon. And Beacon GP Care Limited also happens to be registered at Royton Medical Centre. It's not a tax dodge. It's a clever way of subcontracting money out to yourself. So Royton Medical Centre is outsourcing services to a company owned by the doctors Chauhan that is registered at Royton Medical Centre. And see, Dr. Chauhan, directors. £208,000, is that right? Shareholders' funds, £150,000. See the figures yourself? Trade debtors, apparently £204,000. So you can imagine the sort of income coming through this company. You can see there. I'm sure you can work out what's going on there yourselves. Open and transparent. As open and transparent as the council, I think, would you not say? As open and transparent as the council. Now, why was of the Royton Medical Centre .nhs.uk So I don't think Dr. Chauhan or anyone like that could just log on to that web page and remove his name. It says .nhs.uk. Why was Dr. Chauhan's name removed? Couldn't remove it from the Care Quality Commission page though, could you? And now we've got the scandal of how much money is being paid to Beacon GP Care Limited and what services are being provided by Beacon GP Care Limited in exchange for the funds. Because whatever's been provided, well, it's clearly inadequate because the Care Quality Commission has said so. My name is Raja Mir. I didn't start out doing any of this, but I can do this. I don't think the Oldham Times likes what I do. Because the Oldham Times would rather you focus on the fact that the Royton Medical Centre requires improvement. And the parents react to the CQ orders. There you go. It breached legal requirements. Tell me, Olivia Bridge, why did you not report that Dr. ZAHID CHAUHAN, a senior Oldham politician and a friend of Jim McMahon, an influential member of Amanda CHADDERTON's Labour Party regime, is listed as a partner on the Care Quality Commission webpage of Royton Medical Centre? Care to comment, Olivia? I thought not. Here he is on the previous version of the web page. You can see that. Dr. ZAHID CHAUHAN. And here is the most recent one where his name has been removed. The Care Quality Commission has given them 6 months to get their house in order. I wouldn't accept that if I lived in Royton. If I lived in Royton, I would be attending the emergency community meeting that is scheduled for, I think, the week after next. I hear Dr. ZAHID CHAUHAN is invited to this emergency meeting. I hear all the politicians are invited, including Amanda CHADDERTON, Marie Bashforth, who has a strategic role in the council on healthcare. Amanda CHADDERTON, leader of the council. Dave Arnott and Lewis Quigg, the cowardly Conservatives, who've not said a word about this. That is not lost on me at all, mate. Strange how McMahon, etc., who were so quick to throw unfounded allegations, and allegations since found to be false, malicious, at me in relation to the school he was involved in, are now deaf, dumb and blind to a genuine scandal in their midst. Indeed. I know you've been made homeless, Gary. You've contacted me, and like many other people who've contacted me and are continuing to contact me with issues over the last couple of weeks, my apologies. I'm winding up, and I'm not taking on any new work. I'm genuinely sorry. One of the reasons is this. I'll do this first. Peter Dean when he was speaking to you about me, Gary, I'd come to Royton Market last Thursday just to say hello to a few people. And I knew Peter Brown was doing his thing, so I just wanted to look. I just wanted to watch. Whilst Peter Dean was mouthing off to you about me, I was stood 10 feet away, I think. If he had something to say about me, I was right there. Why didn't he? I'll tell you why. Because he's a coward. He's a coward like the rest of them. Cowards. They like to bully people that they can get away with bullying. They like to intimidate people they can get away with intimidating. They like to rant racist at people that they know will remain silent for fear of what that allegation does to them. Now, according to Peter Dean, I'm going to get arrested any day now. Bring it on. Bring it on. Ex-housing, you in charge of housing or something. He pointed him. He won't come anywhere near me, mate. None of them will. Because they're cowards. Peter Dean was a dodgy councillor. Julie, he was one of those dodgy councillors. Labour Party dodgy councillors. You know, when this plays out, and history will remember who we were and what we did. They'll remember us for who we were and what we were, and how we refused to remain silent, whilst our children were gang raped and trafficked in exchange for block postal votes for Peter Dean's Labour Party. And they will remember the likes of Peter Dean, Jean Stretton, Hannah Roberts, Amanda CHADDERTON, Arooj Shah, Sean Fielding, Abdul Jabbar, Jim McMahon, Debbie Abrahams, as nothing other than politicians who covered up the grooming and gang rape of our town's children. So this thing, apparently, Tameside conspiracy theorist was due in court again this morning. Now, I was in court, so I'll give you an update. The CPS have until the 1st of December to present evidence. That's right. The CPS have until the 1st of December to present their evidence. That's right. No evidence yet. Well, not evidence that anything you and I would call evidence. And there is another case management hearing set for the 20th of December with Judge Hadfield, who's the judge now in the fourth, what will be the trial next year. But that's at Wigan. So I'll know more by the 1st of December in terms of what evidence the CPS have. This post was liked by Councillor Jenny Harrison. So Jenny Harrison likes posts with a comment by Neil Wheelby Media, and you can read it here. Glenn Fry is a fake account of his. The feral female will have wet her knickers at thought of seeing the beggar in the flesh. Shame I'm 2,700 miles away and won't see the arrogant twat in the dock again, behind reinforced glass screens. One can tell he absolutely hates being humiliated in that way. Those of you who were at court last week, Thursday, was it Thursday? Yep. Will know that Judge Hadfield was very clear that I did not have to attend. And I chose to attend because of what it means to me. This is my name. I'm 50 years this year. Next year, now I'm coming up to my 50th birthday. I am a man of impeccable character and lifetime service to safeguard this country and our communities from extremists. There was no requirement of me to attend court, yet I attended, and I stood behind the glass screens in the dock with my head held up high, and I spoke respectfully to the judge and anyone else who asked me any questions. And on the 20th of December, I will go again, even though there is no requirement of me to do so. And I will do exactly the same again. And Jennifer Harrison, Ross Birch, the other one, yeah, Dean. They should be ashamed of themselves. Because regardless what either of them think of me, endorsing clear and obvious misogyny and sexism in referring to a woman as a feral female who wets her knickers is outrageous and unbecoming of anyone who has any level of decency. Indeed, Sally Ann. We all know what this is about. I think we all know what this is about. They are desperate to silence us. Desperate to go back to the way things were. And desperate to make sure that I am stopped by any means necessary. Going to move on. I promised a friend of mine I'd do this. Indeed, mate. Indeed. They don't like it, Gary. They don't like what I've done to them. They don't like how I've exposed them and their criminality. This is Pam Byrne. Mother, as she's known in whatever that Saddleworth publication someone sends me every now and then to have a look at. Preferably when I'm not drinking my coffee because I spit it out. Pam Byrne is the co-opted governor at Saddleworth School. She sits on the Personnel Committee, but more significantly, she sits on the Ethos and Community Committee. This is... I don't know why she's dressed like that. On the school website, you'll have to ask her. I'm going to go through a series of screen grabs. Multiple concerned parents from Saddleworth School have contacted me. I said no first time, second time, third time, but they wouldn't go away. And it's fair enough. I understand. I have a daughter myself. A bit younger. I have a daughter myself. So, Year 7 students recently started at Saddleworth School. Year 7. Yeah, first year students. 10 years old, 11 years old. Get emailed them a questionnaire. The parents know nothing about this questionnaire. 11-year-old girl. Have you ever witnessed sexist name-calling whilst attending Saddleworth School? They need to know what sexist name-calling was, but that's by the by. Have you ever witnessed sexist name-calling whilst attending Saddleworth School? Have you ever had rumours spread about your sexual activity whilst attending Saddleworth School? Have you ever had rumours spread about you to an 11-year-old girl? Child. Have one of your friends ever had rumours spread about their sexual activity whilst attending the school? A question to a 11-year-old girl. Have you ever been the victim of unwanted or inappropriate comments of a sexual nature whilst attending Saddleworth School? What do you mean by unwanted? Does that mean that some sexual comments are wanted when you're 11 years old? Pam? Have one of your friends ever been the victim of unwanted or inappropriate comments of a sexual nature whilst attending Saddleworth School? Have one of your friends ever been sent pictures of videos that you did not want to see whilst attending Saddleworth School? Have you ever been put under pressure to provide sexual images of yourself whilst attending Saddleworth School? That's right. Asking an 11-year-old, have they ever been put under pressure to provide sexual images of themselves whilst attending Saddleworth School? Have one of your friends ever been put under pressure to provide sexual images of themselves whilst attending the school? Have you ever been the victim of a sexual assault of any kind whilst attending Saddleworth School? Have you ever felt pressured to do sexual things that they did not want to? I mean, that doesn't even make sense. Yeah, I think it should read, have you ever felt pressured to do sexual things that you did not want to whilst attending Saddleworth School? So does that mean if you're pressured to do sexual things that you're okay with doing, then it's okay? Is that what that question means? Or the suggestion takes me to? Have one of your friends ever felt pressured to do sexual things that they did not want to whilst attending Saddleworth School? Have you ever been the victim of unwanted touching whilst attending Saddleworth School? So that suggests that it's okay to be touched because you want it whilst attending Saddleworth School. Have one of your friends ever been the victim of unwanted touching whilst attending Saddleworth School? Are there any areas of the current school site where you feel unsafe or where you believe negative behaviour of this nature takes place? E.g. specific corridors, toilets, etc. So, which part of the school are children having sex in at 11? And some stupid questions about assemblies. And what improvements could the school make to educate and support you with regards to sexual abuse and all other relationship-based content? Well, that's the first thing I thought. Is this person, deputy head teacher by the way, trying to find out which children they can abuse? Does Saddleworth School have a problem of children being sexually assaulted in the corridors? Dick pics? What? I don't know. Because that suggests so. My daughter also received one of these surveys, and our next door neighbour's son also received one of these surveys. Both are 11 years old. Why would that school ever assume this survey is appropriate? I don't know, Nick. I don't know. Greater Manchester Police are also apparently involved in this sort of dodgy questioning. And really, come on, 11-year-old kids. You should not be allowed to ask questions like this to 11-year-old children. But worse than that, what do you do with the information if they say yes? Via a survey. What are your safeguarding policies and how do they kick in? Remember Royton and Crompton School, a council-run school? A child was sexually assaulted in the classroom, attempted to commit suicide because the school ignored what had happened to her and sent the child back in, sent her perpetrator back into the same class. This is outrageous. Who came up with this survey and what under what guise? They should be immediately suspended. They should be immediately suspended. And the findings of this, I mean, come on. As an adult, as a parent, I'm really, really sorry. You guys are a lot more calmer with this than I am. I'd have printed out that bloody survey, gone to the school, and whoever was the teacher responsible for sending it out, they would be eating the paper I printed it out on. I am not interested in sexualizing our children at 11 years old. Any form of sexual advances on an 11-year-old is inappropriate. I don't need the word inappropriate there. Any and all form of sexual advances on an 11-year-old child is inappropriate. And these surveys should not be sent out to 11-year-old children without, at the very least, parents being informed. This is outrageous behaviour by an out-of-control professional at Saddleworth School. And what is Pam Byrne, the ethics, in charge of ethics at the school? What does Pam Byrne have to say about it? What do you have to say about it, Pam Byrne? Do you agree? Do you agree with this survey? Did you authorise this survey in your role as on the governing body, Pam? Did you authorise this survey? So you've ticked yes, Sally. So you've got this, you're outraged by it, so you thought you'd take the piss. And you ticked yes, you've been abused, this has happened, that's happened. That should trigger an immediate automatic safeguarding protocol in the school. Nothing. Nothing come back. That is a severe safeguarding failure. Severe safeguarding failure by the council-run Saddleworth School. Pam Byrne. Come on, Pam, I'll print this out. You and me. Knock on doors in. We'll go to the primary schools, Pam. Let's go to Diggle or Dobcross. Survey the year sixes. Ask them about inappropriate sexual touching up in corridors or whatever. Come on, Pam. I'm sorry, it's not acceptable in year 6 and it's not acceptable in year 7. The sexualization of children in our country, in our town, this is outrageous behavior. Just what is that teacher doing? Is he trying or she trying to find children that might be, vulnerable? That they can put on a database and pass around to paedophile teachers across the town? What on earth is the purpose of that survey? Because from where I'm sat, particularly now I know they've done nothing with responses where you've said yes. From where I'm sat, they are looking to, and remember the parents did not know about this. From where I'm sat, they're attempting to identify vulnerable children. And we all know where that takes us to. We all know where that takes us to. They're not, are they? Because if you've got an issue with your, with safeguarding in your school, you don't identify those issues through a blanket survey like this. It'll be some idiot careerist deputy head teacher who's gone on a course, who thinks they're being smart, who's instigated this. But they shouldn't have been allowed to instigate this without governor sign-off. And Pam Byrne is a governor. How many of you have Pam Byrne's phone number? Phone her up in the morning and ask her to explain this survey. I know you're scared of phoning the school up because they'll then target your child. Look, phone up Pam Byrne and ask her. Ask her. And you're right, Oldham, because this is dangerous. Some serious safeguarding concern. For all we know, there could be some sex offender, wannabe sex offender, a sex network, child abuse network, and they're using this information, collating this information to identify details of vulnerable children. Just what is the context of this survey? What is the purpose of this survey? any and all sexual advances of any form with an 11-year-old is illegal. It's not unwanted, it's illegal. There's something called a law. And if the school are aware of it, they should report it, they should call the police in, they should inform parents, they should put in the appropriate safeguarding checks immediately. Instead, this school is sending out a survey. What is the purpose of that survey? I find the way in which those questions have been written to be extremely concerning. I find the nature of those questions to be extremely alarming. Not by any sense, judgment, am I a prude. Not at all. In fact, I'm a liberal. For a part of my life, I worked with Brooke Sexual Health Services, handing out condoms and giving sex advice, sex education advice to young people. Young people who are younger than 16 who were engaged in sex, and my position is if they're engaged in sex, they need to be practicing safe sex as much as possible to restrict and, protect themselves and protect whoever else they're with and make sure they're not being exploited. I did a stint with Brooke Sexual Health Services. But this isn't sexual education, sex education. This isn't supporting young people to protect themselves. This is completely inappropriate. And I want to know if it was with the authorisation of Pam Byrne, Councillor Pam Byrne, Governor of Saddleworth School. I want to know if it was with the authorisation, approval, or even knowledge of Pam Byrne. Wow. In all my years, I've never seen anything like this survey. Saddleworth School. Yeah, mate. I agree with you. I'd be checking the hard drive. Okay. I'm glad the Maggie Oliver Foundation is doing this sort of work, Gary. Hopefully they'll just take over and carry on where I leave off. Looking forward to turning on my computer on a Sunday night and watching someone else who's put 50 hours of worth of work in every week to politically educate, campaign, lobby, expose a whole, all of the things I've been doing. Thank you very, very much. If you find these transmissions of value, 270 of you watching live with me this evening. If you find these transmissions of value, please like, please share, please consider supporting me financially. I've got to fix my computer. God knows what's wrong with that. And if there is a small chance of keeping this going, I mean, I'd rather keep it going, let's be clear. But that's not up to me, is it? Stay safe. See you all soon.
Do not fear them. Do not fear any of them.